Hillary Clinton does business with some of the worst people in the world, always for the benefit of the slush fund known as the Clinton Foundation. People like Paul Kagame, Reich Makar, Gilbert Shagori, and General Paulino Matip Nial. A pattern of behavior emerges.
You shouldn't have.
Look what I found at our door.
The pattern begins with a poor country that's rich in natural resources. A country run by a tyrannical autocrat ready to do business. Here comes Bill with one of his friends. Bill is paid to give speeches.
Gotta pay our bills.
Hillary uses her powers to remove any obstacles. Contributions are paid to Clinton interests. As her power and influence grow, so does Hillary and Bill's bottom line. This is how the Clintons went from this
We were dead broke.
to overseeing an international organization worth billions.
Hello, my friend.
And very little of those billions find their way to the people the foundation professes to help.
I'll feel your pain.
Read about how the Clintons auctioned U.S. policy for profit in the New York Times #1 bestseller, Clinton Cash, a graphic novel. Available now everywhere books are sold.
And now, ladies and gentlemen,
Kris Cruz.
I set the microphone on fire.
Cause I got it going on.
And it goes a little something like
The
this.
star of our show.
Kris Cruz.
Hey guys, welcome back to another new interview here because I am so excited about every single interview I'll be doing this entire week, guys. I've been able to handpick the people that I think that can give us all the information to make the right decision on November 8th. And let's talk about the Clintons and how can we reach the generation that is going to be voting, sadly, for Hillary Clinton. That's why I'm bringing Brett Smith, one of the creators of Clinton Cash, the graphic novel version. I think him and his team are up to something, guys, because think about it. A millennial or a person that is attending college right now or even high school is not going to read a 400-long book about Clinton and Clinton Cash scandal. They're not going to do that. So how can we reach that generation gap that we have going on? Because the left has been doing it for a while. They got TV. They got the good actors. They got all this entertainment that is actually kind of giving them that boost from that generation. So that's why I'm bringing Brett, because I think they're up to something and how they can reach that generation. Brett, thank you for joining us. Why are you guys doing a graphic novel about Clinton Cash?
We wanted to take Peter's original book, which has all kinds of exhaustive reportage and detail, and is, for some people, kind of a hard slog. It's kind of a tough read. You sometimes need a highlighter to kind of get through it. And it's also kind of dry. So
Very
Peter
dry.
approached me. Yeah, man. I mean, it's it is what it is. I mean, a lot of people liked the book, and it was New York Times bestseller, so it was successful. But I was really interested in taking that book and not only giving Peter's fan base, his original fan base, something new, a new version, but let's see if we can take this book and make it more accessible and more understandable, and also entertaining to Gen X and Gen Y, as well as casual and curious readers who might not have the time or the fortitude to make it through Peter's original book.
And I want to get this right, Brett. You are the editor, production director, and creative director. And the reason I brought you on is because I wanted to see what you guys were thinking of taking this big book, this highly successful book called Clinton Cash by Peter, and take it into a form that not a lot of people are tapping into, like the graphic novel. Like I said, I'm in Full Sail University, which is film school, a bunch of nerds in there. I took this book and I gave it to a couple of the freshmen and I gave it to one of the nerdy instructors, and they were done maybe 30 minutes and they were like, wow, we did not know this information. So I just want to get in your mindset right now and ask you, why this?
I was really interested in actually taking a lot of the tactics that the left has used against the right for the past 40 years, whether it's Saturday Night Live or whether it's The Daily Show. And both of those use a lot of satire. And they use tons of satire, which is the most dangerous form of humor and most fun it can be. And so I was kind of like, hey, let's see if we can take these tactics and these weapons that the left has used against us for 40 years. Let's turn it around and use it on them. And our book is filled with the kind of humor that I was raised on, as well as millennials, which is a lot of satire. And so, we take the Clintons and the Clinton Foundation and Peter's book, and we just add tons of satire, humor, mockery, parody, and we basically kind of take apart the left the same way they've taken us apart over the years. And I think it's been really successful, and I think it's been effective because it's reaching a lot of young people. I have tons of young people, millennials specifically, along with Gen Xers, but a lot of millennials that email me and say, I tried to get through Peter's original book and I couldn't, but your book was like butter. I mean, I just sailed through it. Plus, I was able to understand as well as retain the information better because you have words and pictures.
Yes.
And I think, for us, man, Gen X and Gen Y, like we grew up on video games, whether that's Atari or Nintendo. We grew up on movies, TV, now computers, smartphones. We're the tech generation. And we're also used to getting information on a visual and a verbal level at the same time. And I think that's something for our two generations, that's something that's not only preferable, but also natural. And, the other thing is these days there's so much noise and static out there that is, to get your message across, you've got to have not only a compelling message, but you got to have compelling visuals. Those visuals hook the person that you're trying to reach and hook them in, reel them in, and then, you get them, interacted in the comic book and reading it, the graphic novel. And that's kind of how we clean them and fry them and get the good information across. So it's infotainment, as I like to call it. And I think that Gen X and Gen Y, I think that's just perfect. And I also think it's just natural. It's what we demand.
No, and it's completely true because I'm actually holding the book right now, and it's really interesting because the first thing that caught my mind is I knew Bill Clinton was shady. I knew Hillary Clinton was shady. But the way you guys were able to portray their shadiness was really interesting. For example, I think this is like page 5. One of the pages where you guys are talking about the trip to the era of globalization. And if you look at the other page, there's Bill Clinton right there, kind of like a strip club. You got a dancer in front of him. And then at the bottom right, you have Bill Clinton doing an interview about globalization. And the little bubble says, blah, blah, globalization, blah, blah, alternate energy sources, blah, blah. And that's actually what they're doing. They just say their key points, and they just throw some miscellaneous facts, and people don't understand that that's what's actually happening. And then once you put it on a graphic novel like this, where you have satire, you got comedy, you got truth, it retains a lot more other than a book that just says, well, the Clinton Foundation, they fundle, not fundle, damn, that's interesting. They funded or they got money funds from overseas entities. But while you put in a picture book, it's like, wait a minute, it makes it kind of more real because we actually don't have any pictures of them doing that transaction. And you're not a nobody. You actually have done some other work in other industries with Marvel and DC, Hasbro, Cartoon Network. So you are really a person that understands the graphic novel, understands what I call the nerd group. So how is it, because you said something key, and I think myself and other radio hosts have been trying to kind of cross that line of using the same tactics that the left is using that is very successful, like social media, like organizing themselves, creating these big think tanks. So what else can we use from the left?
There's all kinds of stuff. The right has really seeded the culture war over the last 40 years by just not engaging. And they've allowed the left to permeate entertainment, media, and they've used subversion to get their point across. And I think, I think it's like when you're talking about, the difference between the original book, which is just basic prose. That's the type of stuff that put all of us to sleep in history class and economics class and sociology class. I mean, to me, there's nothing really kind of more boring than just basic prose. And maybe that's because I just grew up reading comics and I'm a very visual person, which I think most people are as well, or they at least prefer visuals. And so, it's kind of like, let's open this thing up and bring in not only comic readers, but non-comic readers, because The artwork and the visuals themselves, in a lot of ways, especially that cover, is just kind of irresistible to a lot of people, especially casual, curious readers, to pick up, because it's kind of like, ooh, that's a great cover. What's on the inside? And it's like, what else can we be doing? Everything the left is doing, man. I think we need to be countering everything the left does, whether it's animation, whether it's short films, whether it's Netflix series, whether it is, once in a while we get an American Sniper, we get The Passion, we get Lone Survivor. Once in a while, the right will go out and actually invest in pop culture and try and make something that's worthwhile. And what happens? People go crazy for them. These projects, like Clinton Cash graphic novel, they're met with tremendous success. These are all #1 movies we're talking about, and Clinton Cash graphic novel went #1 in the New York Times for 4 weeks, 2 weeks of which was #1. So there's a real hunger out there on the right for more pop culture and stuff that is not your typical stump speech, not your typical policy speech, not a white paper, not another book on the Second Amendment. How about, how many books are there on the Second Amendment? How about we make a graphic novel on the Second Amendment? Because there's some great stories that we could tell, which involve people defending themselves, or even if we did a graphic novel on Audie Murphy. I mean, there's ways to tell our story and get our message across without lecturing people. And I think that's what turns people off to the right the most, is it's usually some guy at a podium making a speech. And that's supposed to sway everybody, and it doesn't. It puts people to sleep. It's boring. We need to be more subversive, like the left, and we need to engage, and the right needs to look at the pop culture war as not an expense but an investment. This is the long game. The left have been at this for 40 years, and it's why they dominate Hollywood. Why they flipped Hollywood, which was a conservative industry back in the 50s, to it's now like, left of center of Mao. I mean, it's outrageous what's going on, over there.
It's interesting to hear you talk about it, because, not only Clinton Cash is a success, we also have Dinesh D'Souza. He's been able to create two movies documentaries, and they were highly successful.
They were, the only thing I take issue with the documentaries is that they, and even the Clinton Cash documentary, which is very well done. But Dinesh and the documentaries largely cater to the already converted. They preach to the choir. And what I'm really interested in doing is going out there and, producing pop culture and like Clinton Cash graphic novel, which pull in people who aren't on our side. Maybe Bernie supporters, maybe people who don't know anything about the Clintons and are just looking for some information. And they don't want to plow through Peter's original book, but this book, which has got beautiful artwork by Marvel and DC veterans who have over 40 years in the business, that might be something that they'd be open to, or at least giving it a shot. Again, it's all about, we got to bring more people in, man. And Dinesh's documentaries are really important, and they need to be out there. But it's not the only thing that we can do, and it's not the only thing that we need to be doing.
Completely agree. So you're talking about future thing. I mean, you're talking about how to reach. So do you have anything in the future that you're working on, so we could support you? Because that's one of the things I tell a lot of people. It's like, oh yeah, I love that documentary about Dinesh D'Souza. Oh my God, I love that graphic novel. But then they kind of don't buy it or don't spread the information. So how what you got going on?
Yeah, you're so right, man. We not only need to support what's out there, but we've also got to demand more from the right. Demand more pop culture and more forays into pop culture. It's like with Clinton Cash. Once we were done with the graphic novel, we recently went back in and animated portions of the book into little minute info ads. Wow. And they take like we just did one on Hillary's reset, and we talk about how the 20% of uranium, with United States uranium, which was sold to Russia and Putin while Hillary was Secretary of State, while at the same time 9 foreign investors were funneling $145 million in the Clinton Foundation. We were able to put all that into a little minute animated ad, and it's got voiceover work, it's got sound effects. It's like it's a beautiful little animation, but stuff like that, which is subversive, and also things that people can watch in a minute, and you you might not convert them, but if you can put an element of doubt in their mind, that's just as powerful in my mind. So, we just need to get out there and just start getting creative. More than anything else, man. I mean, that's kind of what I look at, like the pop culture on the right, and it's just like this huge vacuum of creativity.
Yeah,
and there's tons of guys like out there like me who do lean right, who would love to work with guys, people on the right.
Exactly, and that's the thing. We just have to all come together because we all have a great message, and we've been feeding from the wrong side of the message. Brett, how can people get in contact with you, find you in social media?
I just joined Twitter. Just recently took the plunge, and I am at Brett R. Smith 76. And also, just buy the book. Go to Amazon, buy the book. If you've already bought it, buy it for a friend.
Yes.
Or a family member.
Christmas
because again, it's all about spreading the word, supporting the efforts. And and it's $11.99, man. It's 112 pages, $11.99. It's got a hardcover, beautiful production quality, and it's $11.99 investment in you and the future of America.
Oh yeah,
it's definitely worth it.
I totally agree. And you got the holidays coming up, so this will be a perfect to those. Especially like I was saying a couple of weeks ago, we have to get our kids involved, and most parents have kids in college. What a perfect way to send this to a nerd in college. Tell them, hey, this was created by the people that worked on Marvel stuff and worked on DC stuff. Check this out. And don't tell them what it is about. Just tell them to read it, and it's going to work. Brett, thank you so much for joining us. You have a wonderful day. And, man, I can't wait to see any other projects you guys got working on.
Yeah, we've got one in the pipeline, which is going to be tackling history, and we're going to be retelling and rebranding the founders and the revolution in graphic novel format.
That's
and
awesome.
When that comes out, I'll message you and we can talk about it.
Yes.
But Kris, thanks so much, dude. Thank you so much for your support and this interview, because, like I said, this is how we fight the culture war. We've got to demand more, and we got to support these endeavors, and it's really important. And guys like you who take the time to highlight this stuff are awesome. And you're part of the success. You're part of the fight back. It's really important. So thank you.
Oh, thank you so much, Brett. And that is it for today, guys. Please go make sure you get this Clinton Cash graphic novel. I'm telling you, you will not regret it. Thank you so much for listening. Make sure you visit my website, KrisCruzBlog.com. That is KrisCruz blog.com, and come follow my Twitter at RC_KRIS. Guys, thank you so much, and till next time.
You're listening to the Kris Cruz Podcast.
Come like the guillotine.
George W. Bush had his own opinion of Vladimir Putin,
I was able to get a sense of his soul.
and Hillary Clinton had her own.
Putin doesn't have a soul.
But it's important in Russia to get the last word.
The minimum head of state should have a head.
Hillary arrived in Moscow determined to improve U.S.-Russian relations.
Sladký privet a se moi galab.
What is?
It's a reset button.
He is stupid, no?
Hillary was officially in Russia to negotiate Putin's plan to build nuclear plants in Iran.
I am being all in.
All in meant Russia's desire to corner the world uranium market, including Canada and the United States. All under Rosatom, Russia's government agency in charge of nuclear power and nuclear weapons. And the price for the Secretary of State's compliance? $145 million, paid to the Clinton Foundation.
Spasibo, suckers.
Read about how the Clintons auctioned U.S. policy for profit in the New York Times #1 best-selling Clinton Cash, a graphic novel. Available now everywhere books are sold.